Yo, what's up, Plus Ultra fam? It's me, Plus Ultraman, and today we're going to jump back into What If Naruto Was Adopted by Jiraiya. And also, special thanks to Shadow of Taurus for his help on the script here for part 2. He reviewed it and gave me some ideas for it, so big thanks to him, and I'll be linking him in the description. Don't be surprised if we have a collaboration someday. As always, our quick recap. In the last part, we saw Naruto and his new teammates face off against Kakashi in the Bell Test, and after being decimated individually, the Genin led by Naruto band together and are able to secure their position as ninja of the Hidden Leaf. Afterwards, you all were able to vote in a poll about what path Team 7 would take from here, and you guys overwhelmingly voted for Team 7 to go to the Land of Waves. We return to this story now. The month leading up to the C-Rank mission isn't all just D-Rank missions. Naruto, as cocky as he is in this timeline, takes pride not only in his own strength, but a bit of pride in the strength of his teammates as well, and as such, he's able to convince Kakashi to do at least some training during this month. Aside from this, we see Naruto and Sasuke competing constantly through daily spars and during their missions, so you could actually see a small improvement between those two skills as well. And thankfully, Sakura ends up being confronted by Naruto. One day, when she tries to dote on Sasuke after a hard day's spar, Naruto gets extremely mad once he realizes that she hadn't done any kind of training other than their tree walking exercises that day. This realization makes Naruto worry, and he chides her, explaining that she continued to let her skills stay where they currently were. At some point, she would put him or her precious Sasuke in danger, and Sasuke is all too happy to echo this idea. This little confrontation has a fantastic effect on Sakura. Not only did Naruto and Sasuke appeal to her love for Sasuke, but she in this timeline cares a lot more about Naruto than she did in canon. Remember, Naruto was never around in the academy to annoy Sakura for attention. Other than being a pervert, he isn't that bad, and he's a prodigy in his own right. She doesn't have the same crush on him that she does for Sasuke, but she couldn't say that she didn't like Naruto at all. This causes Sakura to approach Kakashi and explain that she wants to take her training a lot more seriously and begin to improve her skills, and this makes the Jonin very happy. And after this, he has Naruto have a clone to spar with her daily as well, and he tells her that at some point, he would try and teach her some genjutsu, since he thought she'd be really good at it. Sasuke, refusing to be outdone by Naruto and swallowing his pride, also approached Kakashi for extra training, to which Kakashi decides he would try to help Sasuke unlock his Sharingan, and as such, he learns about Kakashi having a Sharingan earlier than in canon. But once he asks how this happened, he gets a very vague explanation with the promise to learn more info later. But finally, after this month, Sasuke gets sick of all the simple D-rank missions in training. Not to mention that Naruto was always bragging about all the missions he had went on with his dad. Even a few of those had been C-rank missions. But unlike Naruto in the original canon, Sasuke has enough tech to ask Kakashi and the entire team before their meeting with the third Hokage, and the meeting goes down a lot more professionally than in canon. That said, the group is given the exact same C-rank mission as in canon, though Tazuna isn't able to call Naruto the short one here, since he's about as tall as Sasuke because he's not as malnourished in this canon. The journey to the Land of Waves isn't too different since the group still has Tazuna in tow, but when the Demon Brothers try their ambush, it fails miserably. Sasuke notices the puddle around the same time as Kakashi, because number 1, he's trying to show Naruto up, and number 2, he's practicing with the Sharingan, and is actually pushing chakra into his eyes when he just barely notices the faint chakra signature in the puddle. Before the group can even react, the Uchiha begins to run through a set of hand signs and roars out Fire Style, Fire Dragon Flame Song, a technique he had learned after seeing how strong Naruto was and studying some of the jutsu in his clan's archive. The technique sends out a shotgun blast of little dragon flames towards the puddle, evaporating it and making a small crater as 2 blurs fly out of it towards the group. But they're intercepted when Sasuke kicks Gozu in the head, knocking him to the ground, and Naruto hits Mezu with a devastating punch that renders him unconscious easily. Kakashi only chuckles and applauds the boys, saying Sasuke did very well noticing the puddle, and he and Naruto both reacted very well to the situation. And just so she didn't feel left out, he pats Sakura's head and thanks her for staying next to the client, as his protection was more important than anything else. But she does tell herself that from now on, she wouldn't hesitate. The group continues on its way until the situation with the rabbit happens. I don't see it being too different from canon, with Naruto wanting to outdo Sasuke, since in this timeline, Sasuke was the one to notice the puddle, so Naruto still attacked the rabbit. Now when Zabuza reveals himself, Naruto and the other Genin are still pretty shaken up. For one, Naruto and Sakura aren't already aware of the Sharingan like Sasuke is, and for another, Zabuza is a very scary opponent. Kakashi still ends up having to reassure everybody, and the first part of Zabuza and Kakashi's fight goes pretty much as normal. It isn't until Kakashi is caught in the water prison that the timeline has another change. Naruto, for one in this timeline, does not get his headband taken, and for another, he takes out a single shuriken and winds up through it, but stops at the very last moment. He then sighs and takes off his shuriken pouch, handing it to Sasuke, and declaring that he's not too proud to admit that Sasuke has better aim than him. The Uchiha couldn't tell exactly what Naruto had up his sleeve until he felt that single shuriken, and smirks, so that's what he had planned, huh? Sasuke begins to throw every single shuriken that he and Naruto had on them combined at Zabuza, to which the swordsman just scoffed that it was pathetic. He then uses his sword as a shield, making the weapons bounce off harmlessly and sink into the water. All seemed lost until Kakashi, in the water prison, noticed something, and substituted himself with one of the fallen shuriken, realizing what it really was. Just then, Zabuza hears a gargle from his water prison and looks to see Naruto there instead of Kakashi. The clone begins to yell at him, and Zabuza gives a strange look before looking to the real Naruto as he yelled from the shore. He said, "Naruto style, clone explosion!" Zabuza then looks back and sees the clone open his mouth to reveal explosive note, but it was too late, and the water prison exploded only a few inches away from Zabuza, blowing him away and doing a good bit of damage on him as well. But after this small change, the rest of the fight with Kakashi and Zabuza goes pretty much the same, and the Hunter Nin still comes and recovers the seemingly dead body of Zabuza. After this, Tazuna is brought to his home, and Kakashi decides it would be best to train the team up some more. Now, interactions with Inari are completely different in this timeline. Instead of not liking Inari due to him being so whiny, Naruto here can kind of sympathize with the idea of losing a parent. He's never felt that pain himself, but just the thought of never seeing Jiraiya again, it broke him. Not to mention, he was completely aware that Jiraiya wasn't his actual biological father, and the idea that he'd never meet that person also kind of hurt his heart as well. He then tries to bond with Inari over this shared experience, but once Inari hears that Naruto still has an adopted dad, it doesn't work as well as in canon. Though, Inari does hear him here. With tree walking and chakra control already under his team's belts, Kakashi decides it would be better to work on his team's offensive capabilities, since that's what Sakura currently lacked and what Naruto and Sasuke currently want to learn the most. Since Naruto is a more competent ninja in this timeline, because he and Sasuke could honestly be considered tuning level by this point, Kakashi isn't having to babysit he and Sakura during missions or training. This makes everything more efficient for the group as a whole, and allows him to focus on actually training more than just Sasuke. Even though he's recovering, he decides to make 3 shadow clones to split his students up for training. For some odd reason, the clone that went with Sasuke made him very tired, but everyone simply ignored it, as seeing he was very tired already. Over at Sakura and her Kakashi clone, they begin to review the basis of Genjutsu, before Sakura is given a new technique to learn, the Hell Viewing technique. With Naruto and his Kakashi clone, the blonde hadn't shut up yet, asking more and more questions about a whole myriad of things. But when the clone finally sets out to teach Naruto what he had planned to, he's cut off when Naruto declares that Kakashi was going to be the one to teach him the Rasengan. This just makes the clone give Naruto an unimpressed look, and he rolls his eye, before trying to say what he was actually going to teach Naruto, but again he's cut off by the blonde. Kakashi's clone then questions how Naruto even knows he can show him how to use the Rasengan, and Naruto confidently declares that Jiraiya had told him Kakashi was a student of the 4th Hokage, who created the technique, so he would likely know it himself, or at least be able to give Naruto some pointers. The clone, at the very least, is impressed to hear that Naruto knows the first 2 steps, but asks why Lord Jiraiya hadn't taught him the final step. Naruto only huffs angrily and mumbles that the sage thought he was too overconfident and refused to teach him the technique fully, only using the first 2 steps as a form of extreme chakra control training. Kakashi's clone then begins to chuckle at Naruto, before claiming that it wasn't his place to teach him that technique then, and since he refused to learn what Kakashi wanted to teach him, then Naruto could just train by himself. The clone then just poofed away, leaving a raging Naruto in the forest. The training of Sasuke and Sakura went pretty smooth over the next few days, but Naruto, well, he was too stubborn to go to Kakashi for training, so he decided to learn the Rasengan on his own. It couldn't be that hard, right? He spent his time trying to force the Rasengan to completion, but all he was getting was a small rotation and a large burst of energy from his hand that hurt him a bit, but made large craters in the ground or trees that he practiced on. From comparing his to when he'd seen his adoptive dad use the real version, he could tell his pseudo Rasengan was probably only 70% as effective. But he still spent hours upon hours hammering the technique out until he finally passed out himself, leaving his training camp looking like the sight of a meteor shower. That morning, he was awoken by the sight of a beautiful face staring down at him worriedly. He wakes up and begins to speak to this beautiful stranger, and the two speak for a long time, long enough for Naruto's perfect training to kick in. He's able to easily analyze every little aspect of this person, who turned out to be named Haku. He was able to get their measurements within seconds, but then they got into the subject of why Naruto was training, and Haku began to marvel at how strong Naruto had gotten with his notion of only wanting to be strong for himself. He then explains that the greatest path to strength was growing strong to protect those precious to you, and this actually ends up making Naruto's eyes widen. That was eerily close to what Jiraiya had told him a while ago. Haku says his goodbyes and mentions that he's actually a boy, and this causes Naruto to question literally everything he was ever taught by Jiraiya. The story returns pretty much to normal from here until the group sets out to protect Tazuna on the bridge that day. Naruto is already with the group, though before leaving he hands Inari a single shuriken that was thrown at one of the Gato thugs that attacked the family later that day, transforms into a Naruto clone that easily knocks the thugs out. This means that Naruto is not able to make his big entrance, and something else worth mentioning is that Kakashi isn't as well rested as he is in canon. Remember, those shadow clones are actually tiring him out a lot. Say if he was 100% in canon, he's firing off at about 80% here, meaning Zabuza has an even better chance of taking him out in this timeline. We then skip to the moment when Sasuke and Naruto are trapped in the crystal ice mirrors. Here, we see that instantly Sasuke activates his Sharingan, at will this time, but instead of the weird 2 Tomo in one eye and 1 Tomo in the other, he has 1 Tomo in both eyes. This allows Sasuke to better dodge Haku's attacks, but Haku's speed is still highly effective against him. Now this timeline's Naruto and Sasuke have pretty decent teamwork at this time, and try two pretty creative methods of destroying the crystal ice mirrors. First off, they use their combined air bullet and fireball technique, and this makes a huge inferno that melts a few of the mirrors by a decent amount, but they reform almost instantly. The other is when Naruto tackles Sasuke to the ground and covers them both with clones. Sasuke begins to yell at Naruto for doing this, but then they hear a chorus of Naruto-style clone explosion, and the entire bridge is rocked as the clones jump on the mirrors and begin to detonate themselves against them. But again, this wasn't very effective enough to destroy them. Haku dispels all the clones that are left, and in a twist of fate, decides that Naruto needs to be stopped now, and he's a much bigger threat than Sasuke was, and begins to sink Senbon after Senbon into the blonde, and Naruto falls limply on the ground, leaving Sasuke cold and empty. He couldn't even protect his comrade, he was just in motion to do so. As much as he disliked him, Naruto had been beneficial to his training. He never pushed himself as hard as he did when they sparred, or learned as much as hard as he did when he and Naruto competed. This made him feel just how he felt when he lost his clan, and it made him mad. His eyes began to sting for a bit, and his Sharingan faltered, but he noticed that he could see Haku more clearly than ever. Then, right before the ice users rushed him, a fizzle of electricity circled around Sasuke's body before fading away. Sasuke then ran full speed towards Haku, and Haku mirrored him, doing the exact same thing. But when they finally make contact, Sasuke burst into a large blast of electricity that stunned Haku, and Sasuke could be heard yelling, out from behind Haku, "Lightning style, shadow clone!" He then tried to run his opponent through with his kunai, but before he could, Haku dropped to the ground as a puddle, revealing himself to be a water clone. Before the two could clash again, a disgustingly scary chakra began to emit from Naruto, for the Senbon in his body flew out, and the blonde stood to his feet, with his eyes blood red and his mind in a haze.
Kill him.
The voice of the demon fox was all he could hear, and he rushed his opponent, pulling him away from Sasuke and pinning him against one of the ice mirrors, full on cracking it. Naruto then began to choke the life out of his opponent. Haku, in a panic, began trying to stab at Naruto with Senbon to paralyze him, but it was ineffective. Naruto was relentless and uncaring. This person tried to hurt him, his client, and worst of all, the first person he'd ever gotten close to enough to call a friend. He'd kill him. But then, his enhanced senses began to notice some of the same details he noticed on the stranger from the forest. The height, the hair, the build, hell, even the measurements he was kind of embarrassed for taking. He had to know. Naruto reaches up and takes away the mask and freezes, realizing he was just about to kill his new friend. The Kyuubi chakra fades away and he lets Haku go. The scene grows deathly quiet, and the only sound heard is that of Kakashi and Zabuza's battle. But then, the sound of birds chirping and lightning crackling is heard, and Haku, with all his speed and power, rushes between Kakashi and Zabuza, intending to sacrifice himself for his master. But before the tired Kakashi could take the life of Haku, Naruto, once again cloaked in Kyuubi chakra, rushes over himself, and was able to kick both Haku and Zabuza out of the way. Now, Naruto is in the path of danger, and Kakashi's blood runs cold, as visions of his dark past runs through his mind. In the split second before this happens, he hears Naruto roar out, "Hurricane Orb!" And then, the pseudo Rasengan clashes with his lightning blade to deflect it. But thanks to a mixture of Kakashi being tired and pulling back on this attack, as well as Naruto summoning the Kyuubi chakra, he is just lucky enough to not lose his hand, but he and Kakashi are blown back from the force of this clash. The four shinobi eye each other, all pretty confused, but all determined to keep their guards up. Naruto then looks over to Zabuza and growls, "For some odd reason, you're precious to Haku, so you better protect him as fiercely as he protects you, or I will find you." The blonde ninja then disappears and knocks the tired and bound Zabuza out before looking to Haku and ordering him to leave as well. Haku is shocked to his core, but isn't going to refuse a chance to save Zabuza, and quickly picks him up over his shoulder. But just before he can bound away, they hear Gato and see that he and his men are assembled on the bridge. Gato orders Haku to stop and finish his job, and Haku only snarls and says lowly, "Fine." He grabs a Senbon, and for a split second, Naruto regrets sparing them. But then, the Senbon is flung at Gato, and easily sinks through the man's head and out the other side. Haku wasn't aiming to stun on that one. Haku then looks at Naruto, bows, and says, "Thank you, my friend." He then takes Zabuza and jumps from the bridge, and from here on, the timeline matches up pretty well, with the defeat of the thugs and the completion of the Great Naruto Bridge. But that plus Ultra fans will be leaving this timeline off for now. And luckily, in the next arc, we'll get to go into my favorite arc of all of Naruto, the Chunin exams, and I'm so excited for it. So if you enjoyed this part, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Also, follow me on Twitter if you don't mind. And you should definitely join my Discord to interact with me and my community a lot more in-depthly. And if you really want to support the channel, maybe check out my Patreon. But it's not necessary. Just liking and sharing the videos is a huge help as well. But that's it for me, guys. So as always, go beyond plus Ultra. See you next time.